Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Tracy and I will be your host for forever and ever, amen, hopefully. The purpose of my channel is simple, and that is to provide and or create readings to provide insight, guidance, and support to those in need of it and or seeking it. So welcome to those of you who have arrived. It's going to be an interesting journey. This is something I've wanted to do for years and years and years. I just had to find the courage, and I also had to start it at the right time. And so today is the right time, and I did bring a notepad because I'm probably gonna forget things. So as I said, I'm going to provide readings. So today's topic, considering today is the Spring Equinox, I wanted to do a reading on the Spring Equinox, but other topics may and can include bullying, depression, divorce, the four seasons, any and all things, but I felt this was a good place to start because today is the Spring Equinox. Excuse my voice. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm going through puberty or something, but hopefully it'll return a little better. Okay, so before we start, I'll tell you a little bit about how I do it. I'm a channeler, which means that I go to a third party. Most people would know not a third party, but most people would know Spirit. He's my spirit guide, and most people would know spirit guides as, say, angelic beings or their guardian angels. So I go to my spirit guide. My spirit guide provides me with information to which I report back in a reading. You could see me as a messenger, you can see me as a bridge, whatever makes you comfortable. So when I go and get Whitehawk, I don't keep eye contact with my subject. So whether I'm creating a video or whether I'm giving a person-to-person reading, I focus on a point so that I may have a very concrete and secure and strong connection with my spirit guide, making it a more authentic message. So let's go get started, and let's go get Whitehawk and see what he has to say. Okay. So when Whitehawk arrives, he arrives on horseback, on his white horse, beautiful white horse with just very, very fine hairs of gray in it as well. And he's on horseback when he arrives, but he chooses to dismount his horse, and he gets off, and he chooses to come and sit on a bench, a park bench. Although we're not in a park, we just seem to be in a field somewhere. There's a white fence in front of me, and there's a well-worn footpath, not paved or anything, paved by feet or horse and so on and so forth, that leads into a forest. So we sit on this wooden slated bench, and he comes quietly and he sits down, and he nudges me with his elbow and he says, "Big day for you, huh?" And I go, "Yeah." And he just gives me a really content and wry smile. And he says, welcome to all of you who have come here today. He says, today is a very big day for my little one here. Indeed it is, as she has said, something she has wanted to do for a very long time. So be kind to her, he says, for we will be watching. So he goes, the Spring Equinox, he goes, is an absolutely marvelous time, he says. But it can also be a time of havoc. He says the energies can be extremely strong, he says. extremely dark, and indeed be a time, he says, where the energies come to clear out, he says, past stuff. He says, so to make way, he says, for the newness, the blooming that will come later on in the later spring, he says, and or early spring. So really, he says, the energies building up to the spring are about cleaning out, he says, and getting rid of and cleansing. He says, and in doing so, he says, you may feel as though you're heavy, you're grumpy, listless, he says. You know, grumpiness and darkness will make you feel listless. He says, and you're grumpy for a good reason, he says, because you want change. And in order for change to come forth, he says, we have to change. And in order for that to happen, we have to get rid of a lot of the older energies, the darker energies, the energies that are no longer serving us, he says. And so he said, it can be a time of a lot of fighting. He says there's no other way to put it, he says, than to say it can be a time of fighting. I don't mean violent fighting, he says, when I say that, although, you know, he says it can, because it needs to clear the darkness out. This one, he says, meaning me, Tracy, he says, is worried when I say that, about domestic violence. He says that is certainly not my intention, and we certainly would not wish that upon anyone. He says, anyways, moving forward, he goes, once those energies, he says, have been clean and cleared for those of us who are looking to move forward, he says what it does is it opens up and it clears a way for the new energies, the fresh energies, he says, of spring to come forth. He says, and so when those spring energies come forth, he says there is room for it to enter our being and to help us on our way to whatever hopes and dreams, he says, that we have. And so he says, although it is a difficult time, and he says, and you will start to note this now that we have brought light to it, he says, it is a wondrous time once that time has passed, he says. And so this one has asked me to keep it short, he says, so I have kept it short and sweet, he says. And so the easiest way for me to tell you about the spring equinox is it really can be a dark time in the beginning, he says, but in the end, he says there's all this wondrous new energies that come forth, he says, henceforth, you know, spring is in the air, love, la la la, he says. And indeed, he says, a lot of new connections, he says, can be made in the spring. So he kind of goes, he blows us a kiss. He says, and so I have kept it short and sweet, he says, for this one, he says, God bless my child, he says, for what you are doing here today for us and all of those around us. He says, see you soon back here real soon. And he gets up off the bench and he gets onto his horse and he trots away down the path into the forest. God bless. God bless. So that was our first reading, and that was on the spring equinox. I hope it was of comfort for you. I hope you found some interesting things in it. Leave a comment in the down below part. I'm new at this, so we'll see how it goes. But I do want to thank you for being here, and I hope to see you back again. Take care. God bless.